Welcome to our channel. We are Technic Force and we help grow your business online.
Please hit the subscribe button to get more updates.
Capcut Complete Tutorial. This video editor is a game changer. In 2024, Capcut is one of the best video editors on the market with its friendly interface and ease of use while still having advanced tools for more experienced users. My favorite feature is its massive library of drag and drop templates that can instantly make your videos more professional and cinematic, which we'll get to it in a bit. Now let's dive in. You can start by downloading the Capcut desktop editor and I will link it down below. Once you've installed it, open it up and this window will prompt you to start a new project. So this is what the Capcut editor interface looks like. At the bottom, there's the timeline, which is where we'll be importing and cutting up our clips. Top left is for importing our media, as well as a whole bunch of templates can be found here. In the middle is the player, aka the viewer, where we view our edited video. Finally, on the right, you'll find project settings, which also doubles as clip settings, which we'll be tweaking in a bit. But before doing anything, you want to click modify here and give your project a name. Keep all these settings the same, since Capcut should adopt the project settings to the footage you import. Finally, if you have a slow computer, head over to Performance and toggle on Proxies, which will automatically convert your higher quality clips to lower resolution for faster editing, which it will change back once you export. Otherwise, go ahead and click Save. Now let's edit. I'm gonna go ahead and import my first clip. Now here it is in the media pool. To add it to the timeline, drag and drop it. Now when we press spacebar, welcome to our channel. We can preview our clip, and spacebar again to stop. There are a few timeline settings to note. The first one is to track magnet. And what this does is it automatically magnetizes your clip to the start of the available space on the timeline. So if I turn that off, you'll see I can place my clip wherever I like. Turn it on and it goes back to the start. If you have multiple clips on your timeline, it will basically eliminate all the empty spaces. I tend to turn this on and off throughout my edits, depending on what stage I'm at. Next to that is auto snapping. And what that does is if you're dragging your clips around on the timeline, it will automatically snap to any definite cut points. Like here, it snapped to the playhead. I move it along, it snapped. Turning on snapping makes it kind of like a magnet. I wouldn't worry about the other timeline shortcuts for now, since this is a beginner's tutorial. Aside from the zoom functions, you can see your entire timeline. And here you can manually zoom in and out. Faster way to do this is by pressing plus and minus on your keyboard. To edit a clip, it's always good to zoom in a bit so you've got finer control, right? Then you can either drag the start and end to shorten the clip or click this button to create a cut, then deleting the unwanted clip. At any point, you can press Command or Control Z to undo what you've done. A faster way to cut up your clips is using keyboard shortcuts. So by pressing B, for example, I can bring up the blade to cut the clip, or an even better one is pressing Q to delete left, which eliminates everything that was before that point on the timeline. If you want to edit 10 times faster, I strongly suggest learning the keyboard shortcuts because it means you can just tap a button instead of having to manually select tools, which makes the overall editing process so much faster. To access them, head up to the top and hit Help, Shortcut, and here they are. The default Capcut shortcuts, however, are not very good, so I would suggest editing them here in this menu. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut up this clip. And I normally edit by referencing the waveforms on the timeline as clues as to where the cuts need to be placed. So I'm going to zoom in here. And it's not super visible, but it's visible enough. I'm going to make it cut, delete the previous clip, and done. Now, before we go too much further, I want to draw your attention to the player window where there's a few things you may want to consider changing. Firstly, if you click this menu, there's an option to change the preview quality if you're editing on a slow computer and your playback isn't super smooth. If that's the case, change it to performance priority. Otherwise, keep it on quality priority for higher quality playback. Then you can also export a still frame here if you want, which can be handy for thumbnails and whatnot. At the bottom of the player window, you'll see ratio. This refers to aspect ratio. So most projects will be 16:9, which is the ratio you're looking at now. However, if you're editing for mobile, you'll want to choose 9:16, which is the vertical format. And it's a good idea to set this up front so you can frame all your shots to fit that aspect. Then you can resize it by clicking on the clip in the timeline and zooming in on the right-hand side. Capcut's great because you can also click and drag the player window to move your video clip around. My project's 16:9, however, so I'm going to change it back to that. This brings me to the clip settings window, which is a really powerful section of Capcut that allows you to manipulate and edit your individual shots. So if you want to punch in, you just change the scale, and then you can move the clip around yourself manually. You can rotate it, or apply a few different effects like stabilizing, reducing noise, motion blur, and so on. Across here, there's a few different advanced options like cutout, chroma key, masking, and face enhancement, which I definitely don't recommend using. Next to video, you'll find audio. Here's where you edit your sound. So if you want to make your clip louder or quieter, just drag the slider. And fade in, fade out will add a crossfade across the start or end of your clip. You can apply changes to multiple clips at once by selecting them all on the timeline. And then when we go back to audio, if I raise the volume like this, you'll see that it's raised the volume of all tracks on the timeline. And likewise, when you drag it down, same thing happens. One thing to look out for with your audio waveforms is that when any waveforms change to orange, it means they're slightly too loud. And you need to bring your clip volume down to try and minimize all peaks so they're back in the blue. Instead of doing that though, you can choose loudness normalization, where the software will do its best to adjust all the levels based on what they should be to not end up too loud or too quiet. So that's just a fast way to normalize your audio. Then I'll always choose noise reduction as well, because I do have a bit of an echo in this room, and turning it on removes any excess background noise or humming. Next to audio, you'll find speed. This is for fast motion or slow motion. So if you're making a time lapse, you'll want to change this so it's really fast. Or if you have a slow motion clip, you'll want to drag that down to whatever speed is suitable for your clip. Otherwise, keep it at 1. On the curve, you'll find some advanced controls for speed ramping, slow and fast motion. Finally, there's adjustment. And this refers to color correction. Since I have all my clips selected on the timeline, any change I make here will automatically be applied to all clips. If you have a talking head like I do, I'd recommend skin tone protection being turned on, and you can manually color correct your clip so the colors appear more normal, vibrant. So you might want to adjust your exposure to be either darker or lighter, or just balance it out so the highlights aren't as bright and the shadows aren't as dark. You can see the before and after by toggling the adjustment tick on and off. And this does sometimes help you see your clip with fresh eyes so you can make that small tweak it needs. Now when you select just one single clip on the timeline, this animation option will also come up. And this refers to the transition at the start and end of each clip. So if you want to make your shots more dynamic, try one of these. By clicking the transition here in the transition menu, it automatically added the transition to this clip. As you can see here by this line on the left-hand side of the timeline, you can alter the duration of it to be longer or shorter here. Also, you'll notice there's out and combo. Out is obviously transition out, and combo essentially means in and out. So definitely try some of these out and see if there's any you like. Just click on one to add it, and then tap the spacebar to preview it. Of course, it's important not to overdo these. However, especially when you've got clips that are identical, like a talking head, that's why you don't need transition from shot to shot. Where they do work better, however, is with B-roll. So I'm going to drag a B-roll clip into the media pool, and this is just a screen recording of me using Capcut. To trim a B-roll clip down, before you import it into the timeline, simply grab the handles on the right and left-hand side. You can see the preview there in the viewer. And now when I click and drag this onto the timeline, it's much shorter clip than the original, which of course you can shorten again by clicking and dragging. So firstly, with this B-roll clip selected under the video menu, I'm going to choose Scale, and I'm going to zoom in a bit, then reposition the clip. And I'm going to go for something a bit fancier now, and that is keyframing this shot so it moves. To keyframe a shot, reposition it to the first position you want it to play in. And up here, I'm going to create a keyframe next to position and size, which will essentially lock all of these settings in place. Then I'm going to move to the end of my clip where I want this clip to end. Now I'm simply going to drag this across. Now automatically Capcut has keyframed a pan from left to right. Let's watch it back. Great. Keyframes are a great way to give shots a sense of movement. Again though, don't overuse this and have every single shot of your edit move. Next, let's add some text. At the top left, you'll see the text option here. Click that and drag default text down onto the timeline above the clip you wanted to use with. And my idea for these text animations is creating a word for every word I say in the opening 3 seconds of this video. So what I'm going to do is use the audio waveforms as a reference as to how long I need to drag out this text. So I'm going to write what I'm saying. Now, instead of dragging and dropping every time you want a new bit of text, I suggest instead holding down Option on your keyboard, then clicking on the text and dragging across, which will create a duplicate. Adjust the text by double-clicking, and I'll repeat the process for this opening bit. And I'm done. When I play it back, for the coming months, they play in sync with my voice. While you can automatically generate subtitles, this is a good way to do it for small parts of your video without having to subtitle the whole thing. To edit the style and position of your text, select it all. Now up here under text, we've got a whole bunch of different options. Firstly, I'm going to make it bigger. They've got some text style presets with outlines in different colors, which I'm not going to use here. Instead, I'm going to change the font up the top and find a font that I like. This one's pretty cool. If you're not happy with the position of your text, just click and drag it to a new position. You can also rotate it with the rotate tool and scale it up down here in the viewer. Now I do like that, but it's still blending into the background a bit too much. So I'm going to select all of my clips and come down here to stroke, and stroke basically adds an outline. Not bad at all. Another option is adding a background. This can definitely help make text clearer. And there are a bunch of different options for customizing the box. You can change the opacity, make it rounded, change the height and width, as well as offset it. Now I'll play that back and see how it looks. For the coming months, I think it's a bit big, so I'm going to select all of the text, and at the top, I'm going to shrink it down. Now, there are a whole bunch of text effects you can take advantage of within Capcut. If you click over here, Bubble creates like a speech bubble. If you want your text style to be in a slightly different format and shape, obviously you need to go back and customize it so it works better with that neon outline. But there really is a high level of customization you can do to this text. Next to Bubble is effects, and these are just various different types of typography. Again, a massive library here. And these are all really fun and will help you create a much more customized look than the default text and colors. I quite like this gradient. You can also animate your text in the animation tab. And again, you've got in, out, and loop depending on where you want the animations to be. There's also some advanced text options like tracking, text-to-speech. Definitely feel free to check them out. And can you believe we're not even really into the proper templates of Capcut yet? What I'm going to show you will blow your mind. So heading back up to the top left, if you click audio, here you'll find a whole library of royalty-free music and sound effects that you can use within your project, which is really so handy to have these and not have to bring them in externally. If you head over to stickers, what these are graphic overlays that you can place on top of your video. So let's try this one out and look at that. It's placed that on top of my video. And just like with text, you could add an animation to it or a loop animation, which means it will keep moving throughout. So this is fantastic. If you have something specific you need, for example, you can use crosses and ticks in your videos to show right and wrong. Capcut has a massive library of pre-made graphics that you can use within your videos, and this is just so helpful to not have to source these externally. You'll notice that some of these are animated and some aren't, so just hover over an image to see which one it is. Next one over is effects, and these effects range from cinematic to extremely silly. To preview one, just click on it, and it will automatically apply itself to your video. Next one over is transitions, and this is similar to the transitions we had before, just a much bigger library. Again, just hover over to see what it is. If you like it, drag it over to the timeline and place it between two clips. This library is seriously impressive and goes far beyond the inbuilt templates of every other video editor, at least the ones I've used. Next we have is captions. Here you can add captions, auto captions, and there are a bunch of cool trending templates that you can use. Next is filters. And these are obviously color grades, which I wouldn't recommend using unless you want something that looks highly stylized. Then there's adjustment, if you want to add an adjustment layer, but that's a bit of advanced for this video. If you head over to the media, another entire menu of templates you'll find is here on the left-hand side. If you click library, you'll find a whole bunch of great royalty-free clips that you can use within your videos, including green screen effects, plain colored backgrounds for vertical content, animated moving backgrounds, more graphic overlays. And how cool is this? It even has its own inbuilt library of royalty-free stock footage, which are super cinematic and great clips to use to help practice your editing. To insert one, as usual, just drag it and drop it. The final cool thing I'm going to show you under the stickers menu is if you click AI generated, here you can generate your own images. Let's say I want a cute red toy car. I'll type that in and click generate. And a few seconds later, it's generated some fantastic images that I can now use within my video. Obviously, these are royalty free because they're generated from scratch. This is yet another extremely impressive feature of Capcut that makes it a fantastic all-in-one editor. Now, once you're finished editing, it's time to export. You can export by pressing the blue button at the top right of the window. And here we're going to give our export file a name. Choose a save location, choose your resolution. I like exporting in 4K, and for maximum quality, I'd recommend higher bitrate, HEVC codec, and whichever frame rate you shot with. Then go ahead and hit export, and we're done. By mastering these basic tools and functions, you can create high quality and engaging videos using Capcut. Let me know if you want to explore any specific features in more detail. That's all for today's video. If you have questions, make sure to comment below. Before we end this video, let me introduce to you Vidscribe AI. Your business needs more high quality traffic. Unlock a fresh and high quality traffic source that 99% of your competition hasn't exploited. Rank on local language SRPs with subtitled and Redub videos in hundreds of languages, all with a click. Automatically subtitle any video in the language you choose. Automatically Redub voice-over videos in the language of your choice. Get local language captions, SRT for your videos for higher rankings. Transcribe, translate, and Redub your videos in local languages with Vidscribe AI. Get highly accurate videos with best-in-class transcriptions, translations, and redubbing all done for you. Upload videos on auto to YouTube, to Facebook, and even to Instagram and Snapchat through Dropbox. Includes powerful training that shows you how to rank to the top with local languages, and a lot more. So what are you waiting for? Get Vidscribe AI now. Just go to vidscribe.in. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and ring that notification bell. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.